The Toyota Supra isn't just a car. It's a legend written in horsepower, culture, and passion. Born in the late 70s from the Celica bloodline, it grew into a purebred sports machine, conquering streets, tracks, and hearts. The 90s gave us the MK5, a twin-turbo beast that became a global icon, dominating pop culture and tuning scenes. Then, without warning, it vanished, leaving behind a myth that only grew stronger during years of silence. In 2019, it returned, sleeker, faster, and more controversial than ever, igniting debates while proving it still had the soul of a Supra. This is the story of its rise, fall, and rebirth, the before and after evolution of a car that refuses to be forgotten. In the late 1970s, Toyota was already known for making reliable cars, but they wanted something more, a machine that could challenge the sports car world and give drivers a taste of excitement without sacrificing everyday comfort. The answer arrived in 1978 with the launch of the Celica Supra. It wasn't just a regular Celica with a fancier badge. It was longer, wider, and carried a bigger heart under the hood, a smooth, inline-six engine that gave it the muscle to match its looks. The Celica Supra was Toyota's first step into the grand touring category, a car designed for speed, style, and long-distance comfort. It had pop-up headlights, a stretched wheelbase, and a cockpit that felt futuristic for its time. While Japanese sports cars were often small and lightweight, Toyota went for a different recipe, blending luxury with performance. Drivers could cruise effortlessly on the highway and still feel the thrill when the road turned twisty. This first-generation Supra didn't just introduce a new name, it planted the seeds of a philosophy. It showed that Toyota could build a car that appealed to both the sensible buyer and the adrenaline seeker. It was the spark that would ignite one of the most beloved performance lineages in automotive history. And as the 1980s approached, that spark was about to turn into a roaring flame. Next came a bold move, breaking away from its Celica roots to become a pure, standalone sports car. The Supra was ready to step out of the shadows and into the spotlight. By 1982, Toyota decided the Supra had outgrown its role as the Celica's sportier sibling. The second generation, known as the MK2, was a declaration of independence. Gone was the shared front-wheel drive layout of the Celica. The Supra kept its rear-wheel drive heritage, giving it sharper handling and a pure sports car feel. The design was edgier, with crisp lines, flared fenders, and a more aggressive stance that looked right at home next to European rivals. Under the hood, the MK2 got a refined inline-six with fuel injection, delivering more power and smoother acceleration. But what really set it apart was its tech. Toyota packed the MK2 with features like digital displays, advanced cruise control, and a suspension that could adapt to different driving conditions. Cutting-edge stuff for the early 80s. The MK2 wasn't just about numbers, it was about personality. It had the balance, style, and comfort to make long drives effortless and spirited runs unforgettable. Toyota had built a car that could hold its own against the Nissan Z cars and even nip at the heels of German coupes. The Supra name was no longer an extension of the Celica. It was becoming its own brand of performance, and fans were taking notice. The MK3 revolution. 1986 brought a dramatic shift. The MK3 Supra arrived as a larger, more muscular machine aimed squarely at the grand touring market. It carried a confident, wedge-shaped design, pop-up headlights, and a wide-planted stance that screamed power. But the biggest news was under the hood, the introduction of the turbocharged 7M GTE engine. With forced induction, the Supra suddenly had the muscle to compete with big names from Europe and America. This was a car that could storm down highways at high speeds while cocooning its driver in luxury. Toyota refined the suspension, improved aerodynamics, and added a suite of features like adjustable dampers and ABS brakes, making the MK3 a technological showcase. However, the MK3's mission wasn't just about raw speed, It was about delivering a sophisticated driving experience. It was heavier, more comfortable, and more refined than its predecessors. Purists debated whether it had strayed too far from the nimbleness of the early Supras, but there was no denying its status as a serious performance contender. Toyota was setting the stage for something even greater, a machine that would become a legend. A year etched into the memory of car enthusiasts everywhere. This was when Toyota unveiled the MK4 Supra, the car that would define the name for decades. Sleeker and more aerodynamic than ever, the MK4 looked like it belonged in a wind tunnel, with smooth curves, a massive rear wing, and a presence that demanded attention. The real magic lay in its beating heart, the 2JZ twin-turbo inline-six. Straight from the factory, it produced stunning performance, but its overbuilt engineering meant tuners could push it to astronomical power levels without breaking a sweat. The MK4 wasn't just quick, it was a blank canvas for speed. Lightweight materials like aluminum helped keep the weight down, while a sophisticated suspension setup delivered razor-sharp handling. Inside, it struck the perfect balance between driver focus and comfort. The MK4 could cruise through city streets one moment and dominate a racetrack the next. This generation didn't just raise the bar, it launched the Supra into supercar territory, taking on Porsches, Corvettes, and even Ferraris. Toyota had built not just a sports car, but an icon that would inspire generations. If the MK5 was already a legend among enthusiasts, Hollywood made it a superstar. In 2001, The Fast and the Furious hit theaters, and the bright orange MK5, driven by Paul Walker's character, became an instant cultural phenomenon. Overnight, the Supra transformed from a respected sports car into a global dream machine. Street racers, tuners, and collectors chased after it. Video games like Gran Turismo and Need for Speed put it in the hands of millions of virtual drivers, while magazines showcased Supras hitting insane horsepower figures. It became the poster car of an entire generation. But the appeal wasn't just about speed. It was about style, community, and the idea that with enough passion and skill, anyone could build a car that could challenge the best in the world. The Supra became a symbol of freedom, individuality, and rebellion. Its pop culture dominance would help it achieve something few cars ever do: immortality. Even as the years passed, the MK4 Supra's legend only grew stronger, and the world waited for Toyota's next move. By the late 1990s, the automotive landscape had shifted. Governments were enforcing stricter emissions laws, safety regulations were tightening, and high-performance cars faced sky-high insurance premiums. Even for Toyota, building a halo car like the MK4 Supra was becoming a financial gamble. Sales were slowing, especially in the US, where buyers leaned toward SUVs and more practical sedans. The Supra, with its twin-turbo heart and exotic sports car status, was expensive to produce and even pricier to sell. Toyota poured incredible engineering into every unit, but in a market moving away from pure performance machines, it simply couldn't survive. In 1998, Toyota pulled the Supra from the US market. 4 years later, production quietly ended in Japan, without fanfare or farewell editions. For enthusiasts, it was a gut punch. One of the most respected Japanese performance cars, a machine that had outpaced Ferraris, dominated drag strips, and redefined tuning culture, had vanished. But strangely, the silence didn't kill the legend. Instead, it preserved it in amber. Without new models to dilute its image, the MK4 became the definitive Supra in the public eye. Prices began climbing, nostalgia grew, and whispers of a return became a constant hum in car culture. The years after 2002 were quiet, but the Supra's spirit never faded. In real life, surviving MK5s became prized possessions, carefully maintained and often modified to extreme levels. In the digital world, the Supra thrived. It was a staple in Gran Turismo, Need for Speed, and Forza, letting a new generation fall in love with its curves, its sound, and its unbeatable tuning potential. all without ever touching the real thing. Meanwhile, the car scene held onto the Supra like a sacred relic. Car meets still showcased meticulously built examples. YouTube exploded with drag races featuring Supras, pushing 1,000 horsepower or more, often humbling modern supercars. Each viral video only added to the mythology. The longer Toyota stayed silent, the more fans wanted a comeback. Rumors swirled online, with every spy shot and trademark filing dissected for hints. Would Toyota bring it back? And if they did, could it ever live up to the 2JZ-powered legend? For almost 2 decades, the Supra existed in a strange space, physically gone, yet culturally more alive than ever. The stage was set for a return that would divide the car world. When the Supra returned in 2019 after nearly 2 decades of silence, the car world held its breath. The MKV arrived wearing a design that demanded attention. Bold curves, sculpted aerodynamics, a wide, aggressive stance, and a cockpit tailored for the driver. Beneath its skin lay a turbocharged 3.0-liter inline-six producing over 300 horsepower, sending power to the rear wheels. On paper, it was everything enthusiasts could want in a modern sports coupe, but there was one detail that sparked heated debate. The MK5 was co-developed with BMW. It shared its platform, transmission, and much of its engine architecture with the BMW Z4. For some purists, this felt like sacrilege. The Supra was supposed to be a 100% Toyota creation, not a product of corporate collaboration. Social media lit up with arguments, memes, and side-by-side comparisons. Toyota, however, stood firm. Without BMW's involvement, the Supra might never have returned. The partnership allowed Toyota to focus on tuning, chassis refinement, and ensuring the MKV carried the driving spirit of its predecessors. And once people drove it, many critics softened. It was quick, responsive, and alive in a way few modern cars are. Tuners quickly embraced it, unlocking big power gains and showing that while its DNA was shared, its soul was still pure Supra. Line up the first Celica Supra from 1978, the iconic MK5 from the 90s, and the modern MKV. And you're looking at the story of a nameplate that has constantly evolved with the times. The earliest Supra was about comfortable, stylish cruising, a grand tourer with a straight six and a dash of sportiness. The MK4 was the raw, mechanical monster that rewrote tuning culture. The MKV is a sleek, tech-filled performance coupe built for the modern era. The numbers tell part of the story. The first Supra made around 110 horsepower. The MK5 twin-turbo hit 320 from the factory and could reach 4 figures with tuning. The MKV starts at over 380 horsepower in newer trims, with razor-sharp handling and electronic aids that make it approachable for newcomers. Inside, the transformation is even starker. From analog gauges and cassette decks to digital displays, infotainment screens, and precision driver assists. Yet despite the changes, the core DNA hasn't shifted. Straight six power, rear-wheel drive, and a design that turns heads from every angle. The before represents the search for identity. The after shows the result. A globally recognized sports car capable of standing alongside Europe's finest. Each era has its fans, but all agree on one thing. The Supra has always been about the thrill of driving. Now that the Supra is back, the question isn't whether it belongs in Toyota's lineup, it's where it goes next. The automotive world is racing toward electrification, with hybrid supercars, EV drag monsters, and synthetic fuels changing the performance landscape. Will the next Supra keep its turbocharged straight six, adopt a hybrid boost, or make the leap to a fully electric drivetrain? Toyota has already experimented with performance hybrids in racing and previewed wild electric sports car concepts. The Supra could easily be the halo model for this new age, blending instant electric torque with the familiar pull of internal combustion, creating a car that respects its past while embracing the future. Imagine a Supra with lightning-fast acceleration, adaptive aerodynamics, and a chassis honed for both track days and daily driving, all without losing the emotional connection that made it famous. What's certain is that Toyota understands the Supra is more than just a name. It's a symbol of ambition, engineering pride, and the bond between driver and machine. From Celica roots to pop culture stardom, from extinction to rebirth, the Supra has proven it can adapt and thrive. Whatever form the next chapter takes, one truth remains. Legends evolve, but they never die.